sponsors for this event. I'm going to take a moment to go through these. The grand champion level sponsors are Tallgrass, Visit Cheyenne, Pine Bluffs Distilling, who donates the bottles of whiskey for the winners, gives the show a portion of the sales from the show. Notice the Pine Bluffs Distilling tent set up over here, and it is afternoon, so it's no problem with going ahead. Cheyenne Kubota donated the use of 4 machines, 2 tractors, and 2 skid steers for us to use for 3 weeks for the setup and the takedown of the show. They're beautiful pieces of machinery that we enjoyed running. Tenco is a grand champion sponsor who donated 2 drivers, a loader, and a side dump truck to bring all of the mulch in here for the bedding. Equipment Share donated most of the electrical equipment for the show. The reserve champion level sponsors are Stock Show Secrets, ADM Shows Tech Feeds. The purple ribbon level sponsors are Murdoch's Farm and Ranch Supply, Cooper Specialty Feed, Freeman Showbox, who donated money and additional prizes. They're set up down here at the end with the Sullivan Supply Trailer. Transova, Essential Feeds, First Northern Bank of Wyoming, and the Wyoming Junior Hereford Association. Our blue ribbon sponsors are Grow Business Solutions, Miranda Simpson State Farm, Freeman Livestock, Freeman Law, Mandy Weber, and Uncle Fred's, who are set up out in the lobby, and they donate half of the catering cost for the genetic sale. Showtimes, who sponsors a fitting contest. We're excited this year that we have exhibitors from 22 states and Canada registered to exhibit at the Cheyenne Livestock Expo. Thank you cards. All exhibitors, we ask that you fill out and turn them into the office so that we can distribute them. We also have many extras. If you would like more, just come down to the office and we can get some. The board of directors for the Cheyenne Livestock Expo. Pam Freeman is the chairman. Jefferson Keller, the vice chairman. Scott Vetter, Dylan Freeman, Mandy Weber, Justin West, Krisha Geffert, and Whitney Darr. We would also like to thank the Expo superintendents. Show coordinator, Pam Freeman. Cattle superintendent, Jefferson Keller. Swine, Krisha Geffert and Whitney Darr. And sheep and goats, Dylan Freeman. The show is being streamed live on Ringside Live on YouTube. Special thank you to all the volunteers that helped put on the show, community members, LCCC show and judging teams, Casper College show team, Laramie County FFA chapters, and the Army Aviation Association, to name a few. We would invite you to shop our vendors that have supported the Cheyenne Livestock Show and are here all week. Check out these great businesses in the lobby. Our judges for the day are Nick Fitzsimmons and Case LaRoe. Nick Fitzsimmons grew up on a Simmental seed stock operation in western Iowa. Growing up exhibiting cattle across the country and livestock judging sparked a passion that eventually led him to Blackhawk East College and then on to Texas Tech University, where he was on highly successful livestock judging teams. After serving as the assistant livestock judging coach at Texas Tech, Nick took a position with Sunglow Feeds. Nick currently serves as a regional show feed specialist in the Oklahoma and Texas markets. Nick, along with his wife Ashley Sunlander and daughter Lane, own and operate Fitz Genetics, a multifaceted cattle operation in Perry, Oklahoma. Their operation strives to raise and sell high-quality, functional cattle across multiple breeds. Nick has judged numerous state and national shows across the country. Case LaRoe is from Lubbock, Texas, with a background in showing and raising livestock. Case was an All-American for Blinn College's livestock judging team before transferring to Texas Tech University, where he completed his undergraduate degree in animal science while competing on the judging team. Currently, he is the assistant coach at Tech while he works on his graduate degree in ruminant nutrition. Case recently accepted the head coach position for Colorado State University, which he will start in August of 2026.
Nice way to get our bull show started with a single entry, a Mayborn Highland bull that I'll tell you what, shoulder back. I really like the way that this bull is assembled at the ground. His feet are good and they're shaped right. It allows that bull to just leap off his rear skeleton with still an athletic step. He's a good soft-bodied beef bull that I still think balances extremely well from the side. Now, he's not the longest necked in the world. I could shove him back just a shot right at his knee, and I get to the three-quarter shot. I think his pin set sits wide, but that bull just naturally gets a little flatter to the base of his stifle, but I like that bull in terms of his function and utility. A nice way to go ahead and get our bull show started off this afternoon.
So that was Class 8. The winner of Class 8 Intermediate Bull Calf, Heather Bailey with HVC's Warhorse. Class 9 coming into the ring, Junior Bull Calf, born January 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2025. Thomas McConnell with PC Murdo. Jesse Silva with MXB Metallic Finley. And Jeremy Schulte with MES Auto.
A really, really nice group of springborns as we continue to work through our Highland show. And I'll tell you what, I bowled it down ultimately to a top pair. I get to the three-quarter shot, and the gentleman's bull that's going to lead off with, I thought had the upper hand and just genuine turn to his barrel. I thought he was a broader top, thicker-ended bull that had more genuine muscularity from behind. I still think as we get the cattle to the side and we just depict balance, I thought the stout-headed bull, probably not as neat just in terms of his neck or his chest line, but I thought he held the middle part of his loin a little more appropriately. I thought the longer hip bull still had a lot of function built into his hind leg. I thought a good way to go ahead and get things started. Young ladies, black bull has some intriguing pieces, slimmer neck, neater looking from the side. The bull's got a big forearm laid into him. I thought for me, right in terms of his forerib and heart, that bull got just a little bit flatter. My big issue for being the narrower hipped of the two, I thought at the ground I could relax him just a little bit in the way that he set down in terms of his ankle and his rear foot. That bull is prone to get up in his top line and just round out of his rump a little bit. I could just maybe make him a little more functional at the surface, stouten him up to run with our class winner, but a good pair of them nonetheless. A younger bull calf that I think has a tremendously bright future, high quality in the way that he's built and put together. I actually think you get on top of him and he might crease more shape than the bull that we just talked today. He's fighting a little bit of an uphill battle. The harshest flank bull gets a little steeper in terms of his shoulder. He runs out of the most in terms of natural dimension and horsepower, but a good trio of them. Put your hands together for those exhibitors on a job well done.
In Class 9 Junior Bull Calves, first place goes to Jeremy Schulte with MES Auto. Second, Jesse Silva with MXB Metallic Finley. Third, Thomas McConnell with PC Murdo. In Class 10, Intermediate Yearling Bulls born May 1st, 2024 to August 31st, 2024, Andy and Lori Anderson with Mid-Lakes Trailblazer and Frontiera Ranch with Frontiera's Combo.
June wins May 2nd.
Good pair of intermediate bull calves that we have out here in a third class of our Highland division. I think our winner wins and does. I like this bull, probably the highest performing of what we have seen thus far. That bull, in terms of just his moderation, I really like the length off either side of his skeleton. High-tying bull that's rugged in terms of his head. I thought where maybe he had the advantage compared to the young ladies in second from the three-quarter shot. He's a bigger hipped, heavier muscled bull that's probably more genuine, and just the turn to his mid-body. Now, I say up front, he'll turn his front feet out just a shot. I don't know if he's built quite as husky in the pocket of his forerib as what we have seen. I like that bull's balance pieces quite well. I still thought he outpowered the bull that we have coming in second. Moderate, easy-doing calf that I like in terms of just his general structure. He's got the right kind of flex and utility built into his hind leg with that. I study him at the ground. That bull's just a little longer in terms of his foot base. I get from behind the cattle, and I thought he gave up the most in terms of genuine rib turn and muscularity from behind. I still like the way that he's assembled and put together. A good pair of them there as we continue to work through our bull show.
Class 10 Intermediate Yearling Bulls. First place goes to Andy and Lori Anderson with Mid-Lakes Trailblazer. Second to Frontiera Ranch with Frontiera's Como. I would like to make a special announcement to all of the exhibitors and everyone else in the barn as a reminder that there is no smoking in the building. Again, no smoking in the building. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Kent Drake.
Thank you, Bill Panel. Nice job. We'd like to have the Angus Bulls to the holding area. Angus Bulls to the holding area. Thank you. In the ring at this time are the Junior Yearling Bulls, exhibited by Colin DeMuth with Albie's Ramble On, and Spencer and Chelsea Butterfield with HVC Cowboy Cut.
Nice pair of Februaries to close out our Highland Bull Show, and I'll tell you what, this is my first time getting to the opportunity to judge Highlands, and I still think, irregardless of breed, good cattle are good cattle, and that starts at the ground, and that's where our class winner takes charge. I thought a bigger-footed bull operated his hind leg in a more functional and flexible fashion. I like that in motion. This guy sits down soft in terms of his rear foot. His joints are built clean. I think it's what allows that bull to probably pull together a little more balance in his look from the side. due to the fact he's put together just a little bit more ideal. Compared to the bull that we have in second, he's just a little huskier in the center portion of his body. The heavier muscled bull is softer back into his rear rib and flank, and I think that allows him to pull together. Now in motion, he'll throw the middle part of his spine up. I wish I could relax him there, and I could open him up right out of the backside of his blade. I still thought the better balanced bull probably utilized his rear skeleton just a little bit better. The young man coming in next with his other February born, I thought that bull was very nice in terms of the way that he was assembled. That guy is still big top, probably not as powerful as what our class winner was. I thought my biggest issue, the more moderate bull sat just a little heavier in terms of his chest. Good job holding on, young man. I thought that bull sat just a little heavier in terms of his chest, a little higher back into his flank, and likewise, he wasn't as big-footed as our class winner was, but a good pair of them there to close out our Highland show. If you would, put your hands together as we welcome in our breed drive.
Congratulations, Spencer and Chelsea Butterfield won that class with HVC Cowboy Cut. Second to Colin DeMuth with Albie's Ramble On. We'll now go ahead and select the champion and reserve bull in this division. First class winner was exhibited by Heather Bailey. Second class, Jeremy Schulte. Third class, Andy and Lori Anderson. And that last class, Spencer and Chelsea Butterfield.
We'll go back throughout the next 2 days and just talk each division and what I thought about your cattle. Man, I thought a good way to get our bull show started off with the Highland division, the young lady that wins Class 1, a single entry, and I told you guys that shoulder back. I like the dark gray bull and what he represents from just a practicality standpoint. A soft-bodied beef bull that's good in terms of his joint work. That bull sets down comfortably at the surface. The shape of his rear feet, the set and utilization to his hind leg, I thought was very appropriate. I thought up front that bull is just a little shorter in terms of his neck, and you get in behind the cattle, the bull that's just a little up and down in terms of his knee could be stoutened up ever so slightly. He's just amazed, so I think his best days are still to come. Today I'd like to power him up just a little bit. We probably turn it up just a notch with the next 3 class winners, and I think the decision actually gets very close. The gentleman's out of Class 2. I really like this bull in terms of quality. The way that he balances up I thought is extremely well. To me, the lay to his shoulder and the way that he transitions into his forerib is impressive, and I know he's a shot younger than the rest that we have out here, but I still read him adjusted for age to be one of the 2 power bulls that we have in this particular lineup. If we could pick on him just a little bit, his rear feet or his front feet spin out just a shot. I'm not going to say he's the most exotic in his look up front, but square bodied and very proportional. I like the way that that bull pulls together and still goes at the drive. Excuse me. Lady out of Class 3. I'll tell you what, I really like this bull in terms of his performance. Is what I told you guys. Long neck, long hip bull. I still think think balances well through the center portion of his body. He sounds structured. Now we get him back out here, and though he's probably one of the two powerful bulls that we have in this particular lineup, I could clean him up just a shot at the base of his chest. I could tie him in stronger right in behind his blade and still soften him back into his rear rib and flank. But I like that bull and what he represents from an extra power and substance standpoint. The interesting critter of the bunch is the young lady's class winner out of Class 4. I like this bull in terms of just his general balance on the standstill. I think he ties his top line together nicely. The bull goes to the ground, and he's still flexible, and he's got a good give to his lower joints. I get him from behind the cattle, and I thought the oldest bull probably lacked the most in just the ball of his stifle, and then we get him out in motion. I could settle him just a shot at the middle part of his spine. I can make him just a little more uniform in the way that he holds his hip and his hind leg together, but I like that bull and what he represents from the side. It becomes a tough decision, but ultimately I step back. We'll welcome those seconds in here just shortly. I'll put the microphone down. If you would, put your hands together for our Highland Drive, and I'll go show you the two that I like the best.
Champion American Highland was MES Auto, exhibited by Jeremy Schulte.
We bring that second place back in that we had second to our champion Highland bull. I told you guys that bull has some intriguing pieces to him. Neck length, quality, I like all those things. At the ground, I could see that bull just utilize his rear feet a little bit better. I could see him set down more comfortable. I still didn't think he was quite as powerful as what our eventual champion Highland was, but I still really appreciate the quality. Guys, it was a whale of a good Highland show. I told you guys the top three were going to be tough. This young lady right here is going to have your reserve Highland. Good division of them.
Reserve champion is HVC Cowboy Cut, exhibited by Spencer and Chelsea Butterfield. Our Angus Bull Show is next. First class will be Spring Bull Calves. We have one entry in this class, Lazy JB Highway 5908, exhibited by Lazy JB Angus.
We start off here in our Angus show and a very good individual to win our first class. I think from a couple different angles, this one's pretty unique. From the side, that one has some added length in terms of just his spine and out through his hip. I like that one's look up through his front end. What becomes pretty impressive is when you get around the backside of this calf. The way that he feeds out of the backside of his shoulder is added width over his loin and back out through his hip. He carries a lot of shape deep into his lower quarter with a lot of dimension right there across the plane of his stifle. again, I like this one's design. And then when you take into consideration just how powerful he is from behind, he's fighting the halter just a little bit. And I think with that, maybe he doesn't set down quite as confidently right there off those rear two, but a very unique individual to start us off here in our Angus show. Congratulations to him.
First place goes to Lazy JB Angus. We're now ready for Class 2 in the Angus Junior Bull Calves. We have Musgrave Prime Time, exhibited by Styles Angus, and GC Uptown Z06 Simba, exhibited by Peyton Tetton.
January, February class here, and again, a good pair of them in this particular age range. The one that I used to win, just a real show calf from the side profile, was added length and extension up front, his softness to his center body, his smoothness in terms of his design makes me think he'll make some awfully nice daughters in the show ring. Getting behind him, I think he's got enough to him. You know, you compare him to the calf out of that first class of the one that comes directly behind him, not near as dimensional in terms of his width right there and his pins and how he carries it down into his lower quarter. I'd say that one certainly has plenty of angle and flexibility in terms of his lower skeleton. I'd say, if anything, you could strengthen him in terms of his rear pastern just a touch. He sets down with just a bit more there than I think he'd call ideal when you're going to kick him out on a bigger pasture. But with management, I think that one does a lot of things to a very high degree. The bull that comes in second here, some added dimension right out of the backside of his shoulder, how he feeds from there back out through his hip. I like that one's punch when you step right in behind him, and his added expressiveness here in the early part of this show. Round-bodied, good looking from the side profile. Not as soft in terms of his center rib. Like to see that one just a bit more comfortable in terms of his angles off of both ends, set him back in his knee just a touch. Very good class there. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Congratulations. First place goes to Styles Angus with Musgrave Primetime. Second, Peyton Teton with GC Uptown Z06 Simba. 2 entries in our junior yearling bull class. CB Sky's the Limit, exhibited by Seek Ranch, and GC TaylorMade Y03 Mufasa, exhibited by Peyton Teton.
Again, a good pair of them here in this particular class. The one that I used to win is just dense. And regardless of what angle you evaluate this animal, I think just the way that he comes out of the backside of his shoulder with that kind of just power, and his center rib still having enough depth to his center body, make you think he's going to have some easy feeding daughters. His moderation, his dimension from behind, his feature there at the surface. I think that one certainly has plenty of function built into his lower skeleton. He's maybe not near as attractive in terms of his hind leg. Now he goes to to the ground as a few of those calves earlier on, but a dense, powerful kind of an animal. That still gives you a very good look. The one that comes here in second is as shapely as anything we've seen to this point. I like that one's added expressiveness up high, his shape from behind, his roundness in terms of his center body, still stout in terms of his feature there at the surface. Like to see him just a bit smoother from shoulder to forerib. Like to see him set down with a bit more confidence and square him up about his toe. Good pair of them there in our Angus show.
We're ready to select our champion and reserve champion Angus bull. First class winner, Lazy JB Angus. Second class, Styles Angus. Third, Seek Ranch. Seconds in the second and third classes exhibited by Peyton Tetton. Exhibitors, we'd like the Charolais bulls in the holding area at this time. Please bring your Charolais bulls to the holding area.
I think a good set of them here in our Angus show, and certainly expected that when a guy walks out here and we have this first class winner, one that I think does a lot of things right in terms of his dimension, the amount of mass he has working down the top side of his skeleton and back out through his hip, and still smooth in terms of his design from shoulder to full rib, his proportionality here from the side profile, his look there through his front end. I'll tell you, as he gets a little more comfortable out here, I would like to rock him back in his angles just a touch there off of both ends. I'd like to stouten him up in terms of his rear foot just ever so slightly. But man, when that one's parked, he can give you an incredibly good look. I think that one still has a lot of future in terms of what he can bring to the table, and especially in a breeding situation. The one that comes out of Class 2 at first glance, I think has a lot of neat pieces. And candidly, he's probably as much my speed from the side profile as any of them. High tying, wild looking, deep bodied, square in terms of his design and his levelness back out through his hip. Got some added foot and feature relative to his size. I think where you got to make a couple decisions is if there's just enough animal here. And I think that's the big question mark for me, is right there at the base of his full rib and down into his heart. If he opens and spreads with just enough mass, you step right in behind him, and I know he's a younger bull and a little greener, but if there's just enough true product when you get right in behind this calf, I'd say two, just from a breeding kind of utility standpoint, that one's a little soft in terms of his rear pastern, which isn't a conversation that's had very often in the show ring, but I think that's one you'd have to manage just a bit before you turn them out on a bunch of cows. Again, got a lot of neat breeding pieces, just got to watch them in a few areas. Then we got this big bull that comes out of this last class, and I think from the ground up, that's a pretty impressive individual. Big and round in terms of his feet, one that's stout in terms of his feature. He's very dense in terms of his body type and his spread and mass up high. I like this one in terms of the way he's built in his upper hip and still carries a lot of shape deep down into his lower quarter. I step back off of him, and I think as you take him relative to his population out here, he's not as long and extended shoulders forward. He's probably not as long in terms of his hip design, but one that's still very comfortable in terms of the way that he goes off of both ends. I like and I'm drawn to his added dimension through his center body and his squareness from behind. Really like this one's feet and the way that he's built there at the surface. As I said there earlier, maybe not as attractive in terms of his hock as the one that comes directly in front of him, but no major question marks in that particular area from a function standpoint. So I think you see that there's some good trade-offs back and forth. Again, we have one right here that maybe isn't just as showy through his front end, but in terms of real-world value and what this one brings to the table, I like this bull an awful lot. He's going to be our champion here today. We're going to follow right up with Class 1 for reserve. Congratulations.
Congratulations. CB Sky's the Limit, exhibited by Seek Ranch, was the champion Angus bull. Reserve champion Lazy JB Highway 5908, exhibited by Lazy JB Angus. After they exit the ring, we'll start into our Open Charlet Bull show.
Just that the Supreme Bull Drive is tomorrow.
Attention in the barn for your information. The Supreme Bull Drive will be held tomorrow. It will not be held today. It'll be held tomorrow. We'll go into our Charlet Bull show. We have 3 entries in this class. It includes our total show. So the champion in reserve will come out of this class. We have DAL Mr. Dwayne N180TW, exhibited by Henry David Chapman. OCR Fargo, exhibited by Andrew Auden. And Jets Independence 251N, exhibited by Jet Statler. These are spring bull calves, calved after March 1st of this year. Attention in the barn, all Hereford exhibitors, your show is next, so please come to the holding area. Herefords to the holding area at this time.
Since this class is our drive here, I'm just going to talk them all as individuals, and I'll tell you how I like them. The one that here comes out of this front spot of May, so he's at a bit of a disadvantage from an age standpoint. But this young bull calf has a lot of neat pieces. When you study him from his shoulder back, as dense in terms of his body as any of them. You get right in behind him, he's shapy like a show steer in terms of his center stifle and how he wraps that into his lower quarter. One that as he takes off and goes, I like his feature, and I think he has enough reach and athleticism out of his hip and hind leg. Where I work to the front side of this one's skeleton is where I'd like to tweak him or improve him just a touch, rock him back in the angle to his shoulder and knee. I think that'll allow him to carry himself with just a bit more presence and angulation there out of his front end, have a bit more length and extension in that same area. But again, powerful in terms of his center body, shaped up when kind of behind him. That one certainly has a great deal of utility. Then we get into this second spot, and one that I think you can really talk a lot of neat things about. And you read this one initially, he's still pretty green in terms of his composition, which I personally appreciate. I don't know that we have to have these things chuck fat just yet. This one from the ground up is how I like him in terms of his foot size and shape, the way that he's built in his hip and hind leg right there at his hock. I think that's nearly ideal in terms of the way that he sets down and still having enough attractiveness in the posture to his hind leg. You work up front, still has enough angle to his shoulder and knee. Center body reads right again, taking into consideration that he's a little leaner in terms of his composition. I get back off of him, and that's one that has such a neat look from his shoulders forward, but still manly enough about his head, enough spread from up above, length and extension back out through his hip. Again, the only question mark on that one, or I guess an area of improvement even, it's not much of a question, is right there from shoulder to forerib as he continues and matures and lays a little more fat on with time and maturity. I think that gets that much better. That bull improves that much more. I think he's already awfully impressive to evaluate. Then we got our oldest bull here, and it's all kind of relative here. He's a March 5th and one that still has a lot of neat pieces. Easily the most true performance in this particular class. He has as much length from the side profile as any of them. When you're studying him shoulders forward, the length to his spine, the length to his hip, still goes to the ground with plenty of true feature. I like that one in terms of the way that he reaches and goes out of his hip and hind leg. I like to see him just a bit squarer there out of his front end. He wants to close up just a touch at his knee because of that, and consequently he's a little tighter and flatter in terms of his heart and forward. He wants to cut back up into his flank just a touch more. Maybe doesn't balance up just near his knee is the one that comes directly in front of him, but a big scrotal, stout-featured, high-performing kind of bull that, again, when it all lays in just a bit neater, I think certainly that bull has a great deal of utility and a good show career ahead of him. Very, very nice individual there that stands in that third spot. So I kind of am hard time, I guess, hiding my poker face and burying the lead. This bull right here in the middle of the class is going to be your champion. The one right there at the end is going to be reserve. Young man right here on my right is going to be third. Congratulations.
Champion Charlet Bull exhibited by Andrew Auden. It's OCR Fargo. Reserve champion is Jets Independence 251N, exhibited by Jet Statler. Third place in the class went to DAL Mr. Dwayne N180TW, exhibited by Henry David Chapman. We're now ready for the Hereford Bull Show. First class is Spring Bull calves, calved after March 1st. We have 4 entries in the class. First is DCLL AZJB Cosmo, 29N2ET, exhibited by Cooper Miller. Next we have JPV Gunnison 581N, exhibited by Corey Wood. Next we have CCCC The Gambler 534NET, exhibited by Cane Creek Cattle. And the fourth entry in the class is S3058 Diego 504N, exhibited by Sidwell Herefords.
A good class of springs as we jump into the Herefords. I'll tell you what, you got to kind of sit back on your heels. I think all four of these cattle are exceptionally high quality. You got to live with some issues down the lineup, but I still, rest assured, want you guys to hear me say I like all four of these cattle quite well. The gentleman's the horn bull that leads us off. I'll tell you what, when you want to talk about balance, eye appeal, and quality, I thought the roundest bodied bull was the truest source of muscularity. I get to the three-quarter shot. That's where I split the difference in the top pair. A big-footed bull comes out of the backside of his shoulder. He's huskier in the turn to his forerib, and likewise, he's able to platform with more legitimate shape, shoulder back and hip down. In motion, he's got big feet underneath. Now, if I had to pick on him, I could stouten his jaw just a little bit. That bull wears his shoulder a little heavier, and he opens up at the top side of it. I didn't think it affected his function. I like a moderate bull that's round-bodied, fresh presented, and has a lot of muscularity. I thought after that, the bottom three got just a little challenging in the way that they fit together. Ultimately, the spot face bull, in my mind, fit together in terms of type and kind, especially in terms of his size. I like this bull and the way that just he opens up in the center portion of his body. He's higher necked than the class winner that we just talked, though I could deduct some crest. I thought in motion, I know he's just a little on-reacting. That bull's a little coarser in the makeup of his blade. He wasn't quite as genuine in the turn to his mid-body as what our class winner was, and you watch him turn and take the corner and go right away. I thought he got just a little flatter at the seat of his britches, though he opens up big in terms of his pin set. The young lady that comes in 3, I'll tell you what, just in terms of an intriguing breeding value, I like the goggle-eyed bull. He's the sharpest looking of what we have out here, flat-backed, youthful, and juvenile, especially in just his neck and his chest line. This bull in motion, he's a little rock forward in the angle to his shoulder and knee. I could see him just a little more comfortable in terms of his hock joint, and likewise, I think the youngest bull naturally forfeits the most power of what we have in this particular lineup. He's got a good calving. He's looked to him, though, and I like that bull's presence and quality from the side. The bull that's going to round us out, freckle-faced, tough-headed. I like this bull. He looks old school in terms of just the chunkiness of his mid-body. He's more powerful than the bull that we just talked. I thought from a balance standpoint, that bull maybe got a little higher in terms of his flank in relation to where his chest sat as he turned and took the corner. I thought he was a little tighter in terms of his ankle and shuffled his hind leg going right away. Good class from top to bottom with a really nice class winner. Put your hands together for those exhibitors on a job well done.
First place went to Corey Wood. Second, Cane Creek Cattle. Third, Cooper Miller. Fourth, Sidwell Herefords. We're now ready for our second class junior bull calves. One entry in this class by Sidwell Herefords, S307L Dr. Hook, 503N.
A horn bull with just a tremendous amount of quality is the second class that we have here in the Herefords. I'll tell you what, this bull resembles so much of the class winner that we just talked, and I think it starts from behind the cattle. I really like the way that this bull opens up just at the top side of his shoulder. I'm a Hereford cattle enthusiast myself, and I'll tell you what, fresh-haired, and I'm talking about big out of the backside of his blade. He's opened up in terms of his pin set, and he carries his width genuine to the surface. I like this bull in terms of the utility that he has built into his hind leg. It's stout, but it's still flexible. That bull's got good function built into him. He's proud in terms of his neck set, and I appreciate that about him. I think we could tuck him in just ever so slightly, see him toe truer ahead in terms of his front foot. I don't want a nickel and dime good stock. I'm excited to see what he looks like back out here in the Hereford Drive temporarily. Put your hands together for him on a job well done.
First place in this class went to Sidwell Herefords. We'll now have our selection for champion and reserve champion Hereford Bull. We'd like to thank the Wyoming Junior Hereford Association for being one of the sponsors of the show. Our class winner in the first class was JPV Gunnison 581N, exhibited by Corey Wood. And the last class was S307L Dr. Hook 503N, exhibited by Sidwell Herefords. Second in that first class was CCCC The Gambler 534NET, exhibited by Cane Creek Cattle.
Man, I'll tell you what, the Hereford Show wasn't just big on numbers. I know we're limited on just the number of bulls today in the bull show. But, man, I just really, really respect the quality that you guys have brought in this particular breed. We started extremely strong in Class 1. There was 4 bulls that I actually liked quite a good deal. I thought the Gentleman's Horn Bull that wins that particular class is an impressive individual, not only just in terms of presentation, but more in quality. That's a good-headed bull. We talked about stoutening his jaw just a little bit. That's getting awfully critical. I think for a big, rugged herd sire, he's good in terms of his look up front. That bull for a Hereford, he's really appropriate in the lay to his chest and the way that he wears his condition, especially relative to his age. I thought the most impressive thing about him is the way that he fit together from the side. That bull's proportions are incredibly unique, and just his moderation still in terms of his back length and the length of his hip, I thought he fit together extremely well. We talked about it a little bit in class. That bull wears his shoulder just a little heavier, but what I find interesting, he's actually truer in his knee set and more secure in his front foot than the ladies that we had out of Class 2. I like that bull quite well. We just got done talking our Class 2 winner, and I told you guys this bull reminded me a lot of what our Class 1 winner did. I think part for part, he actually might open up the biggest out of the back of his shoulder. That bull might be the most authoritative in just his pin width and his lower stifle shape. I like those things about him. He'll kind of awkwardly knuckle up on his rear right ever so slightly, and I still back off and depict these two cattle in terms of balance. He's just a little harsher right in there in terms of his heart line, and I could soften him back to his rear rib and flank. I think with that, for probably sacrificing the same belly line, that bull marginally has a little bit more chest. And so there's just a couple of acute differences between them. The young ladies that was second in Class 1, I like that bull and the way that he fit together. He's the lightest muscled in this particular lineup, and I don't know if that bull reads quite as rugged as the other two that we have out here. But, man, my compliments to him. I like the gentleman out of Class 1. He's going to have your champion. The lady out of Class 2 is going to be a reserve in an impressive Hereford lineup. Put your hands together for those exhibitors on a job well done.
Congratulations. JPV Gunnison 581N was the champion, exhibited by Corey Wood. S307L Dr. Hook 503N was reserve champion, exhibited by Sidwell Herefords. We have one entry in the limousine Limb Flex show. This is a spring bull calf calved after March 1st, 2024. It's Fires 22M, exhibited by Carly Coulterman. We'd like the miniature Herefords to the holding area at this time. Miniature Herefords to the holding area.
Limousine born when? April. Nice April born here in our Lemmy show, and the young man does a heck of a job getting him shown. I really like this bull. He's rugged in terms of his image. It starts at his head. That bull's got a good width to his eye socket. He's deep in his jawbone. He lays a big forearm underneath a relaxed knee and a front foot. I think from there back, that bull still creases a lot of power right in behind his shoulder and out of his hip. I think there's some balance things that we can maybe get critical on. That bull holds his top line just a little bit softer. I could elevate him at the point of his shoulder. I don't want to be too critical of him, though, because I still think that bull's assembled extremely well. I asked the young man if he's nursing an injury on his rear right foot. He just kind of maybe travels with it a little awkwardly and a little tenderly. I trust that bull's angles to go out and get the job done. A nice single entry there in the Limousine Bull Show.
Congratulations, Carly Coulterman with the champion limousine. We're going to move forward with our miniature show, miniature Hereford show. First class will be spring yearling bulls, and we have 2 entries. This class we have T3C0 exhibited by Riley White and Snyder View Epic exhibited by Bill and Sherry Snyder.
They picked the right guy to do the miniature Herefords. I'm not too tall myself. We'll leave all the big cattle for the taller judge here in just a second. I like these things quite well, though. I thought a good pair of them to start our mini show off with. I thought the young ladies that wins is quite a bit fresher than what the gentleman's is in second, and it's especially evident just in the late to his chest and around his tail head. I thought probably the more authentic bull was just a little truer in the spring to his mid-body and the way that he platformed up high. I'm not going to call him perfect up front. I could kick him back just a shot in terms of his knee, but I actually thought the length of that bull off either side of his skeleton was just a little bit more appropriate. If you opted for the gentleman's in second, you say he's more moderate, a little softer centered, and a little bit more hardy in terms of his initial impression, and I'd buy that. That bull's stout in terms of his head. I like just the turn that he offers from there back. I thought he wore his chest just a little bit heavier. I thought we could correct that bull in terms of his front foot and the way that he went from behind. I don't think he's unsound, just a little sluggish today, but a good pair of them there in the miniature Herefords.
First place in that class went to Riley White, second Bill and Sherry Snyder. We're ready for our second class, one entry in this class of junior yearling bulls. Rock'n'Low, the Big Show, exhibited by Bill and Sherry Snyder.
Nice single entry. I like this bull and just his image from the side compared to the two that we even just looked at. He's probably the proudest in terms of his look up front as anything that we've seen, and the way that he ties his neck to the top of his blade. I like for a mini how this bull just holds his top line and his hip structure in motion. I think his hind leg's good, which is kind of saves him from up front. I could maybe rock that bull back just a little bit in terms of his shoulder and knee, but he's husky bodied. He's fresh as a daisy, and I like the way that that bull pulls together quite well. Nice job. Good entry there as we wrap up the miniature Hereford show.
First place went to Bill and Sherry Snyder. Now we'll select our grand and reserve champion miniature Hereford. The first class winner was Riley White with T3C0. The first place in the last class was Rock'n'Low, the Big Show by Bill and Sherry Snyder. Bill and Sherry also exhibited the second place in the first class.
Nice trio of minis, and we'll go back through just very quickly and just the young ladies class 1 winner. I thought that bull was nice just in terms of his freshness. I thought with respect to the breed, this guy was good in the wrap to his body and the muscularity that he had up high and from behind. I still thought his function was very appropriate compared to the ladies class 2 winner. That bull's probably more appropriate in the slope and set to his shoulder, knee, and his front foot. I think it sits in him squarer and truer, and it allows that bull to probably travel with more comfortability and flex. I still think he's long hipped, he's good, and just his lower stifle shape. If I had to get on him anywhere. I could maybe elevate him just a shot in terms of his hip and his rump line, elevate him at his tail head. I still thought at the ground that bull's big-footed and he's good in the shape to him. He doesn't take the longest step in the world, but I still trust that bull's angles quite well. Class 2 winner, we just got done talking. Outside of just his blade angle, I like that bull in terms of the moxie that he has up front, good-headed, and he's sharp in his lines. That bull gets just a little funny at the ground, and from behind the cattle, we could probably stouten him up just a little bit, but I still like what he represents from a balance and eye appeal standpoint. I still think he's quite a bit fresher than the bull that we have here in third. Moderate, chunky middled. I like this bull. Actually, getting behind him, he's good in just the spread that he has up high. I could see him just a little neater in terms of his chest. I could square him up on his front foot and see him more comfortable as he goes right away from you. But a good trio of them nonetheless. I like the young lady out of Class 1 to have our champion right here. I got a Class 2 to be our reserve. Congratulations to all of our exhibitors.
Champion went to T3C0, Riley White. Reserve champion, Ruckenlow, The Big Show, Bill and Sherry Snyder. We have one entry for our Red Angus show. This is a junior bull calf in the Red Angus show. Flatiron, Foreigner 528, exhibited by Katie Johnson.
I think certainly a nice individual to represent this Red Angus breed. And when you study him from an individual standpoint, again, very round in terms of his body shape with enough turn to the base of his cage. I think he'll have an awfully nice set of daughters from that standpoint. I like this one's spread and squareness, working down the top side of his skeleton. I study him at the ground. I think he's got enough flexibility in his lowest joint works right there at his ankle. I'd like to see him just a shot more comfortable right there at his hock. When he takes off and goes, he's a little shorter and hinges with just a bit more, I guess, struggle there out of his hind leg. But I step back off him again. She gets him parked. That's a dense-bodied, stout-made individual that I think gives you a good look here from the side profile and certainly impressive scrotal development to kind of cap it all off. A nice individual here in our Red Angus. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Katie Johnson with Grand Champion Red Angus Bull, Flatiron Foreigner 528. We're now ready for our Shorthorn Plus. We have one entry in this class, PLC Palermo 2304, exhibited by Briley Rogers. This is a 2-year-old Shorthorn bull.
And AOB while you're at it. And just make sure AOB knows that they have a little bit of time, but not a lot.
We'd like the Semitol bulls to the holding area, Semitol bulls to the holding area. AOB, you're on deck.
Single entry here in our short horns, but again, I think an awfully nice one to represent this breed. Big and square in terms of his toe, comfortable in terms of his step there off of both ends. I like that one's squareness. When you study him at the ground from behind, you work your way up, and certainly I think relative to the population of short horn bulls, still has enough spread and mass from behind. I like the turn and outward curvature to his center body, and I think outside of one area, this one from the side profile still gives you a very good look. I'd like to see him a bit more genuine in his underline. I think they probably went a little above and beyond in that particular area, and he's still very good in the genuine turn to the base of his rib. If you clean him up in that particular area, and I think give him just a bit more punch right there in his center stifle and lower quarter, a very nice individual here in our Shorthorn Bulls. Congratulations.
The champion Shorthorn Bull was PLC Palermo 2304, exhibited by Briley Rogers. We'll move into our Simmental show. Our first class of Simmental bulls will be the junior bull calves. We have two entries in this class of junior bull calves. Volk Changed the Game, N501, exhibited by Dean Volk. Also NPC Don't Worry, N519, exhibited by Emerson Peterson.
I think it's important to keep in mind here in these bull calf classes, this isn't the end point, right? There's a lot of bull showing left to go. These things got to go work when put back out in production and do their job. And I think when you take all that into consideration and project these cattle on, the Baldy here in the front is very much my speed. Very loose in terms of his lower skeleton, stouter in terms of his foot and feature, attractive in terms of the way that he goes to the ground. I get back off him. That one still has some show ring presence and an ability to go make some awfully nice show heifers in terms of his look and extension, elevation through his front end, his drop and sweep to his center body. I get right in behind him, and that one wedges in the right direction from his shoulder back out through his hip, and stoutness in that particular area. Again, very, very impressive. I think that one gives you a good view from a lot of different angles. I'd like to see with just a bit more time, maturity, and feed what he does right in behind his shoulder. He's just a little weak right out of the backside, and I think that's part of why he moves so fluid off of both ends. I like to stouten him up just a shade right there in his heart and forward. But again, I think if managed correctly, this one has a lot of fun pieces. I think he gives you his best view when he takes off and goes. That one in motion is very, very nice. The one that comes in second still has a great deal of quality. Good looking, smoother in terms of his design from shoulder to full rib, still dense and chubby in terms of his mid rib. I like this one's feature. I think when you get right in on the top side of the cattle, he edges out my class winner in terms of squareness and spread right there to the back side of his shoulder, his edge over his loin and his shape from behind. He takes off and goes, and that's where I put him in second. I don't think he's out of bounds by any means, but by comparison back to what I think is an awfully nice class winner, just like to rock him back in his knee just a touch, see him set down with a bit more security there in his hind leg and square him up in terms of his rear toe. Very nice pair of them there to start us off in our Simmental show. Congratulations.
First place went to Emerson Peterson, second to Dean Volk. We're now ready for the senior bull calf. One exhibit, Volk's Jinx M406, exhibited by Dean Volk.
Nice individual here, and just a little backstory. I kind of cut my teeth slinging Simmental bulls in western Iowa, and I think with that lens on, this bull does a lot of things right. One that's busted open and stout in terms of his base build, square and round in terms of his toe, very dimensional in terms of his mid-rib, no excess in terms of composition. What you see is what you get. He's a little flatter haired, but it all still comes together with a great deal of design and look from the side profile, comfort at the surface, stoutness in terms of his mid-rib. I like his shaped up view when you get right in behind him. In a perfect world, maybe you'd see him just a bit neater, shoulders forward, just a bit more, I guess, neat in terms of his jawline and a bit smoother in terms of where his tailhead sits into the backside of his hip. But again, for what he brings to the table and what his job will be someday, I think he does it very, very well. Congratulations to that exhibitor.
Congratulations to Dean Volk winning that class. We'll have the judge pick our purebred Simmental champion bull in reserve. Out of that first class, the first place was NPC Don't Worry N519, exhibited by Emerson Peterson. And winning the last class was Volk's Jinx M406, exhibited by Dean Volk. Second place in that first class was Volk Change the Game N501, exhibited by Dean Volk.
Very good drive here in our Simmentals, and I know Case said it earlier, maybe not just a ton of numbers, but certainly a great deal of quality when we get them back out here. The ones that came to play, and I think we got a nice set of them here to represent this particular breed. We started it off all there in Class 1 with a very impressive individual, in my opinion. Whenever you project this one on and what he can bring to a breeding situation or what he could bring to the industry, and you start talking bigger picture, I think he's very, very nice. Good in terms of his foot size and shape and attractiveness in terms of his lower skeleton. His reach and comfort off of both ends is what I'm initially drawn to. I step back off him, and I think that one comes with a great deal of look, shoulders forward, a robust center body, a stout pin width, and again, I think sets the standard, honestly, for any bull that I've seen to this point, just in terms of his hip and hind leg design. As I said there earlier, he's one that maybe is just a shade weaker right in behind his shoulder. He maybe power him up right at the base of his heart, but part of the reason that he's built that way right in behind his shoulder also aids in the fact and the way that he goes with that kind of looseness and that range of motion. So it's kind of what you'll take to get those big ring things, and I think that one certainly does a lot of things right. The bald face certainly doesn't hurt anything. The one that comes out of this second class, as I said there a minute ago, I think has a great deal of utility. He's built square and wide underneath and still keeps it all in bounds. I like this one's smoothness of joint work, though his correctness in terms of his column of bone, his smoothness from his shoulder back into his center body and how he explodes into that kind of rib cage is something that I'm naturally drawn to when you're talking talking about just real world beef cattle, his stoutness and his squareness from behind, again, really elevates his overall view. As you compare him to the two younger bull calves there coming directly in front of him, he doesn't carry his head carriage near as high as those two younger bulls, maybe not near as neat in terms of just his jawline and skull shape. You'd like to lay his tail head just a bit neater in the backside of his hip. I think that one has a great deal of usefulness when it comes to turning out on cows and what he can bring back to you from a bottom line standpoint, dollars and cents. So a good set of them here, not taking anything away from that second over there. Again, good looking, neat in terms of his show ring look here from the side profile, stout in terms of his edges up high. Like to lean him back and just see him with a bit more angle in terms of his reach and athleticism there off of both ends. I like this set. I like this bull here out of this first class to be our champion a great deal. We're going to follow right up with this one out of class 2 for reserve. Congratulations.
Congratulations, NPC. Don't worry, N519 was the grand champion exhibited by Emerson Peterson. Reserve champion was Volk Jinx M406 exhibited by Dean Volk. We're now ready for our percentage Simmental show. Our first class is Junior Bull Calves. We have 2 entries from Dean Volk. 2 entries from Dean Volk in this class. They include Volk Adobe N504 and Volk the Wanting N502.
A nice pair of them here as we start our percentage bull show off with, and I'll tell you what, it's probably closer than what it seems from the outside because I think these bulls have different strengths comparatively. I thought the young lady in her class winner, this bull was probably more memorable in terms of his image from the side. I think compared to the young man that stands in second, this bull is probably a little more effortless in just the way that he transitions from the back of his shoulder into the base of his forehead. I thought he was more unique in the way that he held his top line. The higher neck bull is stouter in terms of his head work and his bone column. Now, he's not perfect at the ground. I'd love to see him just set down with a little more flex and function. I think as we step in behind the cattle, though he's bent back further in terms of his knee, he's not quite as muscular out of his hip, and I'd like to see that bull just a little fuller in terms of his mid-body. That's where the young man's in second probably has the upper hand. I thought probably naturally a rounder-bodied bull that sets up better in his shape up high. That bull is bigger in terms of his hip, and I like the way that he carries his shape down into his lower quarter. The issue was I didn't know if this bull corrected our class winner at the ground. I could broaden him in the base of his foot. I could tilt him back in terms of his knee. And then from a balance standpoint, I didn't think he probably caught my eye as much as our class winner did. But a good pair of them. I like the style and balance of the young lady's class winner.
Congratulations, Dean Volk, getting first and second in that class. We're now with senior bull calves, 2 entries. Two entries in the senior bull calf class, including SWSN Good Fortune 34M, exhibited by Volk Newsom. And the second calf is J3V Dark Knight 422M, exhibited by Wardell Cattle and J3 Ventures LLC.
Nice pair of them as we close out our percentage Simmental show. And I'll tell you what, I think that the pair of them is split mainly on the go. I thought the young lady and a kind of her colored up bull just represented more of what I've been after this afternoon. This bull, specifically in terms of his hind leg, not only is he bigger and better in the shape to his rear feet, I thought this bull was just assembled a little more flexible in terms of his general hind leg. He's longer in terms of his hip. He's cleaner in terms of his joints. And likewise, it allows for that bull to kind of hold his balance as we get him out in motion. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I really like to probably just make this guy a shot more rugged in every direction. It starts with his head, ends with his forerib, and I can make him just a nickel stouter from behind. But I still think his lines draw up extremely well, and I like that bull in terms of just his flex and comfortability at the surface. The trade-off was, in my mind, is the blaze face bull coming in seconds, probably more aggressive naturally in terms of his top shape. He's a shorter-sided, shorter-coupled bull that's a little rounder in the turn to his forerib, and his rib cage sits more elevated in him. This bull's still got a tremendous look to him. He's proud and he's high in terms of his neck set. I think his elevation up front might start to be at the expense of just his shoulder angle. This bull's just built a shot more vertical off either direction and probably doesn't have the same comfort built in at the surface as what our class winner did. I like his muscularity and I like his look. I just like to see him a little bit sounder on the go. Good pair of them there to go 1 and 2. Put your hands together as we welcome in our percentage Simmental bull drive.
First place in that class went to Wardell Cattle and J3 Ventures LLC. Second to Volk Newsom. We'll now bring in the exhibitors for the champion and reserve percentage Simmental bull. Winning the first class was Volk Adobe N504, exhibited by Dean Volk. And winning that last class was J3V Dark Knight 422M, exhibited by Wardell Cattle and J3 Ventures LLC. Second place in that first class was Volk the Wanting N502. And second in the second class was SWSN Good Fortune 34M, exhibited by Volk Newsom.
I'm proud of the percentages that we have back out here for our bull drive. We'll go back through just very briefly and discuss what my thoughts were. I told you guys that Class 1 was a close decision. We had finesse. We had a little power. I opted for the better balance of the young lady here on the front line. I thought this bull was better in terms of his head shape, where he tied his neck to the top of his shoulder. He's a stronger top bull. That's probably just a little more memorable in the way that he pulls together in terms of his image. It starts with his chest line and the way that bull's able to just hold his belly line intact. Longer hip bull still has a really good image from this side. Now, he's not perfect. His rear feet are a little small, and he could set down more comfortably. I don't think pound for pound he's probably as stout as what I like him, but that bull's exceptionally high quality from this view right here, and I like the way that he pulls together. The young man that stood in second, I told you guys that bull probably sits a little rounder and bolder in the turn to his body, and likewise, he's able to spread more dimension up high and from behind than what even our class winner did. I thought he was a little rounder in the makeup of his shoulder. He was a frailer headed bull that probably didn't correct our class winner in the way that he went to the surface. I'd like to see him just a shot sounder and balance up to make a run at what our class winner did. We jumped to Class 2, a pair of them that we just got done talking, and I told you guys that the star-headed bull won that battle at the ground. He was stronger and more secure in terms of his feet, hock, and the way that he held his balance in motion. I thought was just a shot more my speed. Not the stoutest in any direction, and I told you guys I could see that bull just a little manlier in terms of his head, his body cavity, and out of his hip, but I still think from this view right here, the soundest structured bull of this particular lineup likewise is able to pull together with probably my favorite image. You got to ask yourself, is he just stout enough for me? I still think his lines pull together with extreme quality, and I like that bull's function the best of what we have out here. A blaze-faced bull that stood in second, shorter bodied, just a little shorter coupled, and likewise he's able to probably be more pulled apart to the base of his body, platforms with just a little bit more shape. I think off either end, shoulder, knee, hip, hock, it all just sat just a little too vertical for me. I need to see him relaxed off either end of his skeleton. I thought out here the decision gets a little tough. I still got to stick to my guns on function. I like the young lady's Class 2 winner to be our champion. Young lady out of Class 1 is going to be a close reserve. Put your hands together for all of our percentage Simmental bull exhibitors today.
Champion percentage bull went to J3V Dark Knight 422M, exhibited by Wardell Cattle and J3 Ventures. Reserve champion was Volk Adobe N504, exhibited by Dean Volk. We're now ready for our last division of the bull show today. It's our AOB Open Bull Show. We have one entry in this class. This is Wiley's Legend, exhibited by Heather Bailey. So we have both of our AOBs out here. They are separated into two classes. We'll go ahead and let you know that Jameson, exhibited by Wyatt Mason, is the second bull in the class. We'll let the judge go ahead and pick the champion and reserve.
Well, Well, I asked if we could just bring both of the AOB single entries in and do a division right here. We'll talk about both of these bulls before we select our Grand Reserve and tie and bow on this thing for today. I thought our single entry on a Class 1, a maintainer bull that I thought was probably put together a little more functional in my mind than a red and white bull that we're getting ready to talk. I like this bull. It's almost interesting. He almost runs uphill. He's super tall at the point of his shoulder. The bull's got a good look up front. He's super green and skinny, and with that comes a juvenile look, and I like those things about him. I think to really cap off his balance, we could see him just better in the wrap and turn to his lower quarter and stifle. That bull's big in terms of his upper hip, but he's just a little shallower in terms of his crotch, and his lack of switch doesn't help with anything of that. I do think his hind leg is built just more appropriate than what the red and white bull is. I still think he offers a quality look from the side. The plus bull that we have out here is interesting because I think even adjusted for age and weight, this is the stoutest, most muscular bull of this particular lineup. I think up top, he's got the advantage in just the spread over his loin edge and out of his hip. He's big and he's broad off either side of his tail. My issue with him, that bull's built just a little steep and vertical off either end, and it interrupts him from taking just a comfortable and agile step. I'd like to see him more relaxed. He could still hold his top line in just a little bit better today, but that bull's certainly got some far-reaching pieces. I like our maintainer bull to bear champion. Right here, the Shorthorn Plus is going to be a reserve. Guys, it's been a heck of a fun day. I know I speak for both Nick and myself. Thank you guys for having us out. We look forward to selecting a top 5 female and bull tomorrow afternoon.
Winning the AOB show was Wiley's Legend, exhibited by Heather Bailey. Reserve champion Jameson by Wyatt, exhibited by Wyatt Mason. Thanks to everyone for participating and watching our open breeding show today. The Supreme Bull Drive will be tomorrow.